he had an insane double where he got third in the 800, came back 15, 20 minutes later, won the 200 free, coming from third or fourth place to storm back and win.
No, he was in eighth. He was eighth at the 50.
Eighth at the 50? Oh
yeah, he was last at the 50. He was last by 25 meters.
It's exciting to maybe see if that's a preview of what we're going to get to see for him at NCs in the yards pool.
Welcome to Social Kick. I'm Brian Lundquist. We got a partial crew. Dr. John Mullen is here. Luke Paddington is under the weather, defending his house from inches and inches of snow in the Great White East. But in sunny California, not only myself, but we also have Ryan Erisman. What's going on, Ryan? How are you, man?
Hey, guys. How are you? I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're pretty stoked to get a chance to talk to you. Actually, weren't you recently up at altitude and enjoying some of the cold weather in Colorado?
Yeah, we were up there for about 2.5 weeks, right after Christmas. After winter break, we flew out there and we were up there. And yeah, luckily it actually wasn't snowing very much. It only snowed 1 or 2 days. So not as bad as this week, the snowstorm blowing through the East Coast. But yeah, it was a great time up there.
Man, you got all sorts of weather coming from Central Florida to go out to Cal, where, you know, that people say it's sunny in the Bay Area, but in Berkeley, man, it can still get pretty cold sometimes. Swimming outdoors all the time is probably a little bit different. I mean, I know you have real winter. It can still get somewhat cold on a pool deck in Orlando in the middle of winter. I understand that.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, we got our audience questions for you. For those who submitted questions at Social Kick Swim on Instagram, that's where you can submit questions for our guests. So we got a few for you, bud. This one's from Undefeated69 wants to know, what is your go-to rock, paper, scissors? Spill it.
Oh, man. I would say rock.
Go rock first. John, you have a go-to?
I don't. I mix it up. Keep them guessing. How about you, man?
Can we all agree that paper is the weakest to start off with? Nobody goes paper.
I agree with that.
All right. This one's from Jack Culp. Your buddy wants to know, do you tuck Kenny Barnacle into sleep at night?
I definitely don't tuck him in, but we are roommates. So that's the context to that question.
Wait, you can shave each other's backs later when it comes to taper time.
Exactly.
All right. This one's from our pal Neophyto Shera, wants to know, what do you have for breakfast? Because something's definitely working out for you.
I would say a lot of bagels, and there's these things called like Bobos, and it's just like almost like a little peanut butter sandwich. It's just like oats and like jelly on the inside of it. I usually eat one of those before practice.
That is the hack to Bobos, by the way. I was actually topical. I was having this conversation in the last couple of days, looking at a bunch of Bobos. They were being sold in a gym, but it wasn't the good like sandwich style ones. They were just the regular oat bars. And the take was like, oh, these are like always dry. Do you have the regular ones ever?
No, I have the ones with I've only had the ones with jelly, and they're pretty good. So. Yeah, only sandwiches.
It's a jelly. That's the secret, Neophyto Share. You just got to eat a PBJ in a sandwich in a little bar form, and then you can go 146 on the 200 free. That's all it takes. That's it for our audience questions this time. Thanks for those who submitted. Ryan, what is the secret sauce, really? I mean, I think our that question is valid. You obviously, you know, you and your sister who've had on the show, shout out Riley, have had quite the rise. You know, people are comparing you guys to the Walsh sisters or the Shackles or, you know, whomever else like swimming, you know, royalty as sibling duos. And it's so, but I think having a great year at Cal, your freshman year, and the meet that you just had in Austin was kind of insane, and especially in season to go that many best times. Something's clearly translating, and I'm just wondering, you know, what's on your mind with all the results you've had and this kind of journey and swimming where you are right now.
Yeah. Austin was fantastic. Super fun. Like just going to race right after coming off the altitude. I think that was a huge benefactor to that meet. But yeah, just being at Cal, you know, for almost 5 months now. It's just been a lot of change and like a lot of growth, I think, outside the pool and inside the pool. You know, it's definitely a lot of work, like coming to college all the way across the country and just being in a totally new environment with totally new people, and just everything's new. And so it's definitely a huge like challenge, especially as a freshman, just getting used to everything and life, let alone swimming and stuff like that too. So just putting all that together in the fall, and then, to go to Austin and see those times was like a little bit of relief, honestly, and just, made me really happy just because like all the work I did in the fall translated well to long course and to the pool. So I was just super pumped after Austin.
Did you expect to see, two parts. One, were there some early indicators that you're like, oh, we're on to something, like things are going well. But for you to describe that as like a bit of a sense of relief is like, maybe that feeling wasn't there. And I'm curious what like you expected to, where did you expect to be at this point of the season?
Yeah. Indicators, I would definitely say just like training and stuff like that. Training's a little different. So the fall was kind of hard for me. Sometimes mentally just to adjust to the training. I knew that what I was doing was right. And like my times in dual meets and stuff was like, it was showing that. It was just different from what I did last year. And I had a lot of success after last year. So it was hard for me to mentally just adjust and transition into this year. And so, yeah, just mentally, figuring that out was a big thing. And like, yeah, in practice, swimming with like Daniel Wiffen or Lucas Henevo, these type of people, just swimming side by side with them every day. I knew that I was training really well, and that's helped my confidence going into Austin.
Grown-up swimming is a summer league for grown-ups.
How many swimmers got into swimming because of summer league? And it's because they got into the fun part about swimming.
Eating a hot dog, pounding some fun dip, and getting on the block and racing.
So why not continue that as an adult?
Why let kids have all the fun? Why can't adults have a summer league?
And remember how much fun swimming can be.
Times don't really matter. You get to do silly races. You can eat fun snacks and
Maybe a beer.
I plan on whooping some butt when I race that.
And getting up and going and beating some people, particularly beating Luke. Well, certainly paid off. I was watching that last day, and you had third place, I believe, in the 800 with the best time, and then like 15, 20 minutes later, you're back in the 200 free. I think it was you and Lucas both did that crazy double, but you stormed back that last 50 and got the win and let out a lot of emotion. Talk us through what you were feeling when you touched the wall and saw first next to your name.
Yeah, going into the meet, I really wanted to focus on 2 free because I before college I didn't do a lot of strength training like outside the pool. And so that's definitely one of the biggest changes I've had is just I'm a lot stronger than I was. And I definitely feel that in the water and just like more stable. And so I knew my 200 would be pretty good. I felt like I will go 146. And obviously I had the 800 before it. And so that was kind of a bummer when I realized that. But I just swam the 800 how I wanted to swim it. And then just warmed down the best I could. And I just had nothing to lose. I was just wanted to get out there and race. I was right next to Chris and Lucas. And so I knew, Lucas, I swim with him every day, and I knew Chris would take it out fast like he always does. And I just, tried my best to stay with him and not like give up or, give myself an excuse that I had a race before.
Not to throw shade, but when you go 146.6 and you're last at the 50, it's pretty clear that you give up like half a body at the 25, and so that's like encouraging, I think, to know that you're proving that the training works for the back end of the race, but to still leave that much opportunity on the table too, which you've got plenty of people around that, you can train with to develop that front end speed, but one of the best places in the world to be able to cover that aspect of the race too. What are some things that, high school Ryan to college Ryan, what are some of the development areas that you felt like, okay, like I'm taking the next step in my swimming career, and now I get to work on these things where there are opportunities for me to become a better swimmer?
Yeah. There's definitely a couple things. Number one, I would say is like outside the pool, like strength aspect. That's definitely like been the most significant thing this fall. Mm-hmm. Number two, I would say that something they really do a lot here at Cal or enforce a lot, with Dave Marsh and Durden too, is like your details and everything. So like for me right now, that's like my flip turns and my starts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like just, practicing those every day, after every practice, I have to do like 10 flip turns with like drag socks and stuff like that. And just like things like that that are just going to like, translate into training, so like not just doing those outside the pool too, but just putting them into the practice, into sets and stuff like that. And just being a little bit more mature about that. I think it's definitely a big thing that has grown here at Cal. I remember like last year, it was a lot about working hard, and I'm very good at that and, having a good practice, but being a little bit more focused about swimming smarter, maybe, I guess.
Your club team, the Lakers, are a really good club team. Not only you and your sister, but other great swimmers. But it must be nice not have to have your sister kind of at your heels in practice. And like you said, having Daniel Wiffen and some of these other Olympians and great swimmers at Cal must just be a relief to kind of change your focus and change who you're going after in practice. Tell us about what it's like to train with those guys.
Yeah, it's seriously like the best. I remember just whenever I got to go to a national junior team camp when I was younger, it was like the best week. Just being able to race other people that were similar speeds or way faster than me. It was just like the best week of training I always had. And so I knew, like, when I got to college, like, I was just so excited for that opportunity. And I remember last year I had to train a lot on my own, or like, doing my own sets and stuff like that. So it was just really hard. So, getting to college, and, almost kind of lucky that Dan and Nathan ended up here the way they did. I remember like finding that out, and I was just like, yes, like, I was so excited. But yeah, it's just like seriously the best. It's an awesome group. Dan, Nathan, Lucas, Gabe Jett sometimes. We have a ton of freshmen that are just great teammates, everyone. It's just a great group. And so just every day, whether it's a Friday morning or Monday morning or like, a Tuesday night, it's just, you're racing everything, you warm up and then there's no smooth or anything after that. Everyone's talking trash, like all the time, no matter what's going on in your day. It's just like, you get there and you race. And so I think for me, it's just made it a lot easier, the training in that aspect. Just like, I just got to show up and, if I'm going four ways next to Dan, Lucas, and Nathan, it's going to be a great practice no matter what.
Were there any early, like when the full group assembled and got together and you got acclimated into, let's say like, week 1, 2, 3 of training, and you're in a new environment, your first time in college, were there any moments where you watch somebody's performance in practice and you're like, holy shit, like I'm in a new level now?
Oh yeah. I remember when Dan first got here, he had an appendix surgery earlier this fall. And so when he got here, it was like, man, like, how is this guy the Olympic champion? Like it was really, I was like, man, like what? It was so funny. And then all of a sudden, just like slowly you could just see him, like, he's looking a little better. And then it's just like out of nowhere. I remember we were doing this huge, like, set long course with a bunch of red efforts, and he's just, holding sub-minute pace, and so it's just stuff like that. I remember Gabe Jett, we were doing this suit up practice and he just did 100 back, and it was just like the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. I think he went like 45 or 44 off a push or something like that. And I couldn't even like comprehend, what he just did. And so it's just like stuff like that, just weekly, you know what I mean? Right. It's just really cool to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. What and so you talked about the training is different from what you were doing in high school. What are some of the key ways that it's different?
Yeah, I think it's maybe just a little more structured, and a little just. I think I just had to get used to like the intensity difference. In high school, like the terminology I guess I used was just a lot of max effort stuff. It was either like max or, I didn't really have a lot of ranges and stuff like that. I did a little bit of the color system, but it was more of a focus on the higher intensities. And so when I got here, Dan and Nathan, they're very good at like a smooth pace, like their white pace, I would call it. And so just, there's a little less high intensity, but there's more like low intensity. And so you're putting more, for me, it was like, I had to put more effort into other areas of practice, or like more effort in other parts of the set to get what I needed to get out of it, I guess.
I'm really curious, and maybe this is some for John as well. There is a lot. So I enjoyed running marathons and doing Ironman racing, and I'm preparing for an ultra race later this year. And so a lot of the training for that kind of work is people talk about the zones like 1 through 5, and they talk about zone 2, which I believe is like, heart rate in the somewhere like between 110 and 125, probably something like that, under 130, at least for me. There's probably a percentage of your max heart rate or something like that, but it's like a sustainable pace for a long time. And I would think that that's something closer to what you're talking about with like white pace. There's like a level to it, but you can hold it for a really long time without going into anaerobic zones. And so, but I wonder about like swimming, the Urbancheck color system with white and red and pink and all that. Do you guys measure each of those? And if you're talking about like how they're better at holding that sustained pace in that zone, what are the measurables that you can take to, besides like times on the board, to know that you're in the right heart rate zone, but you're improving at that kind of like baseline aerobic pace?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we use heart rate monitors. And to be honest with you, Dan and Nathan, their aerobic base was a lot better than me, especially when I got here. Especially that low end aerobic base, I was really good at keeping up with them on race pace sets and stuff like that. But when we would do a Monday morning color set, and we're doing 300s and 200s, like pink and white, or like 400s red, stuff like that. They would just be like, it was amazing how fast they could go, like, easily, pretty easily. And so I remember I would just race them. And like, I would say I was in like a white or a pink, but I was really probably in like a higher red or something like that. But like week after week, it got a little bit easier. And so like, the other morning we had a set with some 100s and stuff like that. And I was pretty close to Dan, and I was more in like a white zone, like I should be. But yeah, we have like the polar heart rate monitors, and we have those up on the TV sometimes, and we keep an eye on those, and they'll just ask us to, like check our heart rate and stuff like that on the wall. And sometimes like Noah, our coach, will like look at us and be like, like you're going a little harder than white or where you should be, and Dan's over there like not breathing hard, and it's like some of us are just dying.
Right.
So yeah, but I remember I definitely tried to use the clock and know like, okay, like I want to get faster. I want to build my white pace faster. I want my pink pace to be faster. So I would just try to train that every day, whether I was in that heart rate or not. That was the goal.
Having an option that works with my affinity for swimming and my love for being in the pool that can help me by, taking care of the wrinkles before the pool, with the goggles, so I don't look like I've been in the pool all day, to not being itchy, to smelling nice. It's kind of nice to have an option that does all those things. You can enjoy these benefits too. Go to TryHard and use code SocialCare for 20% off your order.
Are there any sets or examples on how much that has improved? You said it's improved quite a bit, the white and pink zone. Is it, like you said, a few seconds per 100, or what's a example set you may have done?
Yeah, I remember the other morning we were just doing, it was like a group of like 6 100s, and then like a 300, and then 4 100s, a 200, and then just like 100. And it was just smooth. Like we had a kick set after, like a hard kick set. And so it was just supposed to be smooth. And I was next to Dan, so it wasn't smooth. We started off like 105s and stuff like that. And then, throughout the whole set, I was holding like 102s at like a white pace or like a pretty easy pace. Obviously like trying pretty hard, but not out of breath or not dying and stuff like that. And so for me, that's good for me. I've always been a little not great at white pace and stuff like that. So, getting there. Yes. Like a couple seconds, I would say, per 100.
Okay. Got it. So when you first got there, you'd be what, like 105s, or
yeah,
you would just
probably
still go
105s.
102s, but be in a red.
I would probably still go 102s, but be just kicking the whole time in a red zone. Yeah.
Yep. So you mentioned weight training and the gym being a little bit different than in club as well. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. So in club, we did dry land like 2 days a week. It was mostly just pull-ups, push-ups, abs, other like just random exercises, it was just 30 minutes, 2 times a week. And, it definitely helped me get a little bit stronger, like somewhat of a foundation. But, coming to college, I'm lifting 3 times a week, and I'm doing dry land 3 times a week. And so that's a huge change. It's a lot more, a lot more like soreness and just like it's actually like a plan, you know. In club, I feel like it's just do this and we're gonna do it the whole year, you know. But now it's like, you know, this is what I'm doing at this time of the season. You know, I'm in a power block, I'm in a strength block. And so just really working through that and just, you know, each week getting a little bit stronger, like, okay, like, you know, I could do a little bit more weight here, a little bit more weight here. It's definitely just more uniform and a lot harder too.
Now, it's gonna be hard to tell, or it's so early on. It's gonna be unknown. But do you think not having as structured weight room was beneficial for you coming to college, knowing that you have some more room or more things to add and expand in your arsenal? Or do you feel like it kind of left you a little behind the eight ball getting in the weight room? And I'm sure a lot of the other swimmers that were freshmen have had more experience in the weight room than it sounds like you had.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something, honestly, I remember I used to talk to my coach about. And the way we did it was, you know, it was kind of like always, yeah, that's one thing that we want you to have in college to grow, just like huge from. And we always prioritized in high school. You know, sometimes we would do a little bit of lifting. And so it was always just, you know, I knew how to, when I came here, I knew how to front squat, I knew how to clean, stuff like that, just because I had done the movements previously. You know, I had done all this sort of stuff. And so it was always just about, you know, getting the movements down, getting a little bit of a foundation, but, you know, really just foundational stuff, just to not get injured and stuff like that before college. And then just to have that room to grow in college.
You're just getting ready for spring break. You know, that's really the looking good at the beach.
Exactly.
What's life like in college? What do you take? What kind of classes are you taking? Do you know what you're going to do with your life? What are we doing?
Yeah. I'm trying to get into the business school, Haas. Right now, I'm majoring in economics, and I'll apply for that at the end of next year. And yeah, it's pretty hard. I remember in high school, you know, I mean, I took 4 classes in school, and then I did some online classes, and so I didn't really do much school in high school. I kind of like go to school, screw around for like 2 hours, come back, you know, just sit in my bed till practice, and then go to practice and like light it up, you know. But now it's like I have like responsibility, and I have to like actually really work hard in school and stuff. And so that's definitely a huge challenge. Like we had our finals week after Minnesota, our invite, and I remember like talking to Noah before, and I was like, you know, like, yeah, I really want to push it this week and, you know, get a ton out of this week. Because I remember seeing on my calendar, like it was like a lower yardage week. And I was like, why is it like that? You know, like I'm not doing that. And then I got to finals week and I was like so stressed. And I had like 4 finals, and I was just studying all day and all week before that, you know. And yeah, like that's why it's a lower yardage week. So yeah, that's definitely a huge change. But it's definitely a lot of fun. Like everyone around me is doing it, you know, all my roommates and my friends are doing it. And so we're all in it together. And so that makes it really fun.
Yeah. Your comment about like what you did in high school reminded me of that thing that went viral about Carson Beck recently. Did you see him talking about how like, oh yeah, I didn't even go to class, you know, I just
2 years or whatever.
Play football. I mean, he had already graduated, you know, but everybody's like, see, this is what's wrong with college sports. You're like, well, I mean, he did graduate. So
yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so coming from Florida, I'm sure you have a lot of friends that are like, man, what's California like? What's Berkeley like? So when you talk with friends and family back home, how do you break it down to them now since you've been there a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Berkeley is like so unique. It is usually like, you know, what you hear about it or like how people describe it, I would say is pretty accurate. You know, it's kind of like a hippie, like Northern California. It's so beautiful. That's definitely the biggest thing. But yeah, it's just got like a unique charm to it. And I really love it. I think it's like you go outside and there's just always something going on in the street, or like you see someone like walking by and you're like, man, like this is just Berkeley, you know. It's super cool. It's just a cool area. And I just love, like, you know, it's super fun. Like there's so much stuff to do. You can go hiking, like 5-minute walk. You could drive 30 minutes to the city. The beach is like somewhat close by, the bay. There's just so much to do and so much around it. And that was definitely like picking a college. That was, I remember, like a huge thing coming from Florida where there's a lot to do and stuff like that. It was a huge, like, you know, I don't want to go somewhere where I'm not going to have stuff to do, or, you know, in a cool spot. So yeah, it's awesome.
You get like go anywhere, get a secondhand high, maybe get really good at slacklining, just
Yeah.
hacky sack. What about like other sports? So when I was in college, I remember we got really close with the gymnastics team, and there's some track and field roommates that I had. And that's one thing that I think is so cool about the college experience is just getting to assimilate with other sports, make friendships, but also, learn about what they do, how they train. If you put your professional hat on, what can you soak up from those types of, athletes and exposure to it? So what are there any sports that you guys are like pretty well connected to that you developed some friendships in?
Yeah, at Cal, definitely the water polo and swimming are kind of like two like the major dynasties of the school. And we definitely like try to associate ourselves a little bit with them. We would always go to their water polo games in the fall, and they come to our meets in the spring, and they come to our meets in the fall. And so our coaches definitely try to connect ourselves with them and stuff like that. When we play or like when they play Stanford, it's a huge thing for us too. Like if they lose, then we want to beat them, like to kind of like get revenge or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely like we're definitely really connected with the water polo team. And like all of our banners are at the pool like together, and both Dave and I think it's Kirk, the water polo coach, have been there for like so long, and so they're just like they're like on the same page and everything. So it's I would say water polo is definitely our closest connection.
Did you guys have water polo in Florida?
We do, but it's not as big as California. Like it's like huge in California. I mean, I know a lot of people like play polo and then that's how they become a swimmer. In Florida, I feel like our high schools have water polo and stuff, but it's like you're more of a swimmer and then you play polo like as a like for fun kind of. But it's kind of the other way around in California.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. So I grew up in Atlanta, and all my recruiting trips are kind of in the Southeast. So to live in California and then realize how big it was or is out here is totally right. I think there's other hotbeds for it too. Like maybe in the Northeast some.
I think so.
It's kind of like beach volleyball too. Like beach volleyball is I think is an NCAA sport, but you can find it like where there's sand, and otherwise it doesn't really exist. Yeah,
it's like California and the Ivy Leagues that have water polo, but pretty much the Ivy Leagues are just full of California kids on the roster, so it's mostly California.
Yeah, our polo games are like, I mean, it's huge. Like, there's actually a big polo tournament going on right over there right now for girls. But yeah, I mean, like when the men were playing and stuff like that, it's just like the speakers just packed. There's not a seat, and we're all back there behind the goalie and stuff, yelling and stuff, and it's a great environment over there. It's fun.
Yeah.
So what's more fun to go watch, a swim meet or a water polo match?
I don't know. I don't really understand. Like, by the time I'm a senior, I'll understand water polo like I understand how to watch like football and stuff. But I would have to say it's swim meet just because of personal bias. But water polo was pretty sick. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get you to say water polo, and then we could get into what swimming can do to make, these dual meets better, because, there's the huge wave of, we need to make swim dual meets exciting and do all these different creative meets. But Cal doesn't seem to be doing many of those. And obviously that's not your decision. But do you feel like Cal is kind of behind on some of those things of not, falling for trying to do just some novel thing and focusing on NCAAs? Who cares how we do it the midseason? Let's focus on long course. We're going to go put up some great times down in Austin Grand Prix. It just seems to be, I don't know, more like the traditional mindset of going about the college season.
Yeah, 100%. I think Dave's way of thinking about the season, he's got a plan for every meet, and that involves, the whole year. He's got a huge calendar with like a ton of dates on it, and he knows exactly like what he wants out of every meet and every situation and stuff like that. I think it honestly comes down to just the athletes and stuff like that, just getting up and racing more. I don't think, it's necessarily, Dave's fault or anything like that we don't swim fast in season, that's just our plan, and that's what helps us succeed at the end of the year. I know myself, like I love the race. And if I go to a dual meet, especially if we get it out of Stanford, I have a ton of friends on Stanford and stuff like that. Like, yeah, we're going to get up and race, you know what I mean? And so I think that's makes it entertaining. I know that, no matter where I am in the season, I'm going to do that. And I just think it takes it takes a lot of people to do that and to have that mentality. And I think if we get enough of that, I think it'll be, dual meets will become more and more entertaining, which is more racing. That's what people want to watch is racing. And yeah, Cal, we have our way, and that's what has worked for us in the past. And I think that's, what makes us so successful when it comes to March, or when it comes to, putting people on Olympic teams and putting people on world teams and stuff like that, and going to those meets and, succeeding as well. So I think we're doing it. Definitely in a more traditional style. Personally, like I really enjoy that style. I just think it gives me more confidence going into meets at the end of the year. But yeah.
Speaking of doing things your way, you are a goggle straps on the outside of the cap guy. And I would just like to know,
Frank,
do you have any data on whether that's faster or slower? Because I don't. I honestly don't know. I may have my own personal biases about it. Although I respect your individuality.
It definitely doesn't look as cool. I was talking with Lucas about this at Pro Series at Austin. He's like, dude, like, you walk around with Crocs on and you wear your goggles outside your cap. He calls it like a sleeper build. It looks like an age grouper, Yeah, definitely. I've always worn my goggles outside my cap, and I never I've tried it sometimes, and it just feels so weird, like when they're inside my cap. So yeah, my sleeper build will continue for at least the end of this year, probably.
Well, I was just wondering if anybody's pushing on you, going, besides Lucas, if somebody's going, hey man, look, if you want to choose a slower way, that's on you. But but at Cal, we science the shit out of this stuff, and we do things that are faster. But if you want to go slower, then that's your choice. But I might be wrong. I have no idea.
That might be a Dave Marsh conversation for me in the future. I'll just be told to do it one day, and then I'll have to do it.
John, you got any insights on this? I don't know.
I bet you it's a minimal impact, likely zero, because the wave upon your head is going to be larger than that little strap. But I am in full agreement. It looks ridiculous, and the straps need to be underneath. The level, just so you know, it's a slippery slope, and then you'll be Chad Leclos or Joe Doyle, if you remember that guy, Brian, who wears the goggles around his neck the whole meet, just so you don't lose them. So that's next.
I used to wear I had the bungee strap on the goggles to just adjust it easy, and I would rock that. I mean, I lost that 2 years ago only, or a year and a half ago. So I would wear that up until I think I wore it at. I might have worn it right before Olympic trials and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always had the sleeper builds.
Yeah, you keep going backwards there. I thought you were gonna be okay, maybe it was last week I was still rocking the bungee. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're a very fashion forward guy like I am in the pool. So what are some things that you can't do as a swimmer fashion wise at the pool?
Oh God, I can't do.
Yeah, what gets you looking at him like, Jesus, I can't believe this guy is wearing this or doing that.
Oh man, when people wear fins for warm up and stuff like that, all the time, religiously, it's come on, you don't need fins for a 300 flop, you know what I mean?
Man, throwing shade at the sprinters, we know that's the sprinters, no doubt about
it. Yeah, honestly, or if they don't if people don't wear shoes at a swim meet or stuff like that, I'm come on, what are you doing? Especially if they walk out, if there's a walkout and they're not wearing shoes. I wear Crocs, and that's kind of dorky, but it keeps my feet warm. And so it's you're literally faster if your feet are warmer. So yeah, if you don't wear shoes.
Yeah, that's one that I often, if I'm watching swimming with somebody who doesn't know swimming or come from the swimming world, that shoe on deck thing is usually one, or a big puffy jacket. They're like, what are we doing? Why aren't they supposed to be in skimpy swimsuits? We're swimming here, we're getting in the water. And they're so confused by that. As somebody who, you lived your high school life being, at a national, international level. So I'm sure you had some sort of identity to some people as an elite swimmer. And so I'm curious, what are some of the questions, these like novice kind of dumb questions, common questions that you would get as a swimmer? They're like, this seems kind of obvious to me, but non-swimming people don't know it.
Yeah. In high school, I would just say most people just don't really understand, just how dedicated some swimmers are, especially if you're competing at like an international level or like a national level, we would, in the fall, the like high school football games and stuff like that. Like I would never go just because I had practice Friday night and then I'd practice Saturday morning. And so it's just never like enticing for me to go. I love football and stuff like that, but it's like, I got to go to bed,
Right.
And so they, people just don't really understand that aspect of it, I guess. They just think it's kind of like, you go to practice just like a regular high school athlete, but it's really just it's a lot more than that. Especially if you're competing at a high level, it's a lot of you have to be eating right, you have to be sleeping right, you have to be making right choices, on the weekends or during the week. It's just a lot more that goes into it, I guess. And it's also swimmers train a lot more than like a lot of other high school athletes. I had like 7 or 8 practices in high school, and so it's just like that's 4 mornings a week and a lot of afternoons too. So
yeah, it takes a different level of dedication. I remember doing that too. I'd still go to the football games, but I certainly wouldn't go to the after party because that was time to get up for Saturday practice. Let's go even further back, because to be thinking like that as a high schooler is a different level of maturity, and it shows in the results too, right? And so, like, where did you fall in love with swimming? Do you love swimming? and was there a moment for you where you started to like switch it into a different gear of something that you do versus something that you take, with intentionality?
Mm-hmm.
Hot take, Ryan hates swimming. I'm excited.
I mean, maybe you don't love it. I don't know. You don't have to.
No, definitely not.
I do distance, Ryan. Come on now.
The water sucked. It really, really sucks.
Yeah.
I definitely love
anymore.
Yeah. I definitely love being in the water and stuff and being around the water. Sometimes there's some distance sets where I'm like watching the sprinters do relay starts and I'm sitting there doing like 6K, or like something like that. I'm just like, come on. But yeah, growing up, when we were younger, me and Riley, we lived in like Daytona Beach. And so we lived right on the beach in a condo. And so I was always just, my backyard was the ocean and the beach. And so I grew up just, always going and, body surfing or boogie boarding, whatever you have it, just playing in the ocean, being around that. And so when I started swimming, I think it was just kind of like I was a little bit more natural than when maybe some other people start. And I really enjoyed like seeing like, however hard I worked, I felt like the faster I went. And so like at a young age, I feel like I kind of got hooked on that aspect of it. I remember I played soccer for a little bit, and I'm probably more talented at swimming than I am playing soccer, but I remember just like, I would always work so hard and then just, I feel like I wasn't getting any better. But with swimming, I feel like it was so easy to see like, I'm getting better. Like it's a fact, whenever there's like a bad meet or something like that, it's just, I always try to look at myself first and like, okay, like, what can I fix or what can I do better? Just because I feel like, that's kind of like the whole sport, like I feel like once you start to blame other things or other people or something like that, it's just like, you're not going to get any better. I think you definitely need to like have a lot of self accountability. And I think that's something like I really enjoy about it. I think it's a huge challenge, but I think once you like take on that accountability, you can do pretty cool things.
You talked about your turns. We talked some about like speed and the white pace and pacing and competing with people. But like if you show up to today's Saturday, probably don't practice tomorrow, but you have practice on Monday. If you show up, what are the things that are immediately on your mind for like right now? Like, I want to get better at these things. These are the top boom, 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 3 focus areas that are, top of mind for you during workouts.
Yeah. Number one, it's always just like working hard. There's never a practice where I go to the pool and I'm just like doing nothing really. I feel like I always go and like push myself really hard. And so that's definitely number one, especially going in racing would be number 2. If I'm going to race at a high level internationally, getting comfortable racing Olympic champions and world champions next to me every day is just a skill, that's just something that, you need to get up and race for 7 days at a world meet. Then, you can get up and race for 6 days every day in practice for a whole week. And that's something we talk a lot about at Cal. And then number 3 would be like, yeah, flip turn, like my details and stuff, my flip turns, just like always keeping that in the back of my mind.
Room to improve, obviously, but clearly you're having success already with what we saw in Austin. So what are you doing really well in practice compared to these Olympians and other high-level swimmers that you're racing every day at Cal?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think I'm just, I really enjoy racing, and I really enjoy like having fun with racing. And I just always, they're all 24, 25 and I'm only 19, but instead of like using that as like like they have more experience than me or they're just better than me, I've kind of flipped that into just like I have the advantage, I'm younger, so it's like, why not, instead of being scared of them, like in my head, make them scared of me or whatever, and so that makes it, it just gives me a little bit of confidence, and I'm sure they're not like scared of me, and I hope they're not. I'm not scared of them, but I know like I used to get up and go to a nationals and I'd be like, oh my goodness, like I'm in the heat with, like Carson Foster or Kieran Smith. And like, that's crazy. Like that's like, I'm just going to lose. And so I kind of like had to lose that mentality, especially if you want to go to a nationals and compete at a high level. And so just doing that every day and building that skill every day really helps.
So what are you like in the ready room? My vibe is that you're not like Victor Davis, a Canadian Olympian who would like spit in other competitors' lanes and things like that before a race. What are you like in the ready room though?
Yeah, I definitely try to. If I'm like super tense before a race, I swim bad, and so I always try to like have fun in the ready room and just I talk and like crack jokes or whatever. And especially in Austin, where it's like a lighthearted environment, everyone's kind of doing that. It's hard at like a nationals, like, where everyone's like, if I don't get top 2, I'm not making a world team. So everyone's like just dialed in, but I'm sitting there laughing and, having jokes, having fun and stuff like that. So definitely Austin, I'm definitely like a relaxed, have fun kind of guy in the ready room.
All right, let's hear this ready room joke. You said you crack a joke. What do you, what's your go-to joke in the ready room to get Carson and these other guys laughing?
I don't know. I have one, but
all right, we'll have to workshop something with someone walking on deck without shoes on or something like that.
I will say Nathan Wiffen, he has like the best jokes. He comes to practice every day and he'll just be like, they're definitely not appropriate for the podcast, but he'll come and just be like, he'll just come up to you and be like, just say a joke. And it's just like, this is perfect before you get in the water. It's super funny.
It always takes a couple of those personalities on deck. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about race strategy. I was watching some of your races, before chatting with you, and I had forgotten that in that 400 last summer that Kieran Smith went out so fast, and then you guys reeled him all in, and it was even easier to see because he's wearing this like yellow lime suit. We've had Kieran on; he's great. But I wonder about like when you're the 400 and up, I feel like is when you start to see a little bit more of these like tactics in racing and. I'm curious, like how much you play with that, or you kind of stick to your plans, like, steady, hold pace, build it. That's what it seems like from my perspective that you do. But, A, is that accurate? And B, how much do you play around with it and see how much influence do some of these other people that you mentioned have on what you can learn about race strategy?
Yeah. I would say I'm definitely like my back half is definitely pretty good, always strong. I don't have a lot of like front speed, and so like especially in like a 400, I can go out. I think I was at like 52 both the times I've been 46, and so that's pretty controlled. That's not like over pushing it, and then I come back pretty well. I think I come back usually like 53 high or so. And so, yeah, just always, having the back of the race in mind. And I think I use that as like a confidence booster. Like in the 2 free, like, I knew that as long as I was with everyone at the 150, like, I can come home really well the last 50. And so like, it's almost like it just like gives me a lot of confidence going in if I'm like with somebody at the turn going into the last like 100 or 50, especially in Austin. I think I was pretty in shape coming down from altitude, especially for January. So it made me like feel pretty good in the water and everything. But I know like Dan Wiffen, he's like really into like the race strategy and stuff like that. And if you talk to him, he has like a ton of like insight into that. I know like he's talked about before how if he's ahead of someone, like he'll slow down to make them slow down behind him and stuff like that. He talks about in Paris, he made a move on Bobby in the mile, and he like used Poltonary to like block his move or whatever and stuff like that. I'm not like that in depth into it, but he definitely is. And so it's cool to learn from him and to like see kind of how he looks at, especially the distance races and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to be playing 3D chess like Wiffen in these 500s at NCAAs. I'm trying to think of other things you could do. Just sprint a 50, easy a 50 for a whole 500 and see what they do after you.
Yeah, trust me, they do that in practice sometimes. We'll have like
Oh yeah, what's up? Oh yeah, go on.
We'll have, I mean, we used to, and like sometimes we would have like just like long swims, like an 800 or something like that, just easy. And like I like just go easy. And but like him and Lucas he'll do a 50 fast, 50 easy, and then like he'll get to a point where he's ahead, like so far ahead, and then he'll go easy to let him catch him, and then just sprint again. Like yesterday morning, I was like beating Dan on a 200, and he just comes and like sprints the last 10 meters, like full out, just to out touch me at the end. Yeah, just a lot of like mind games like that, like racing mind games.
I'm curious with somebody like you. It's been a couple of years now since Leon went 402 in the 500 free, and I wonder like how on your radar was that at the time? What's the reaction to it at the time, and then like what do you think of that as you've gotten closer to that now, as terms of like what's realistic?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember watching that. I was like, wow, it was like crazy. You know, I really wanted to break 4 minutes. I thought that'd be the coolest thing. I think someone definitely will one day. Maybe it'll be me one day, or I know Lucas talked about it. I'm sure it's in Rex's mind. I'm sure it's out there. I think it was just so cool to watch it though. Like, wow, like this guy's kicking out to 15 meters off every wall, and he's really the only person that's ever done the race like that. You look at Rex is not doing that.
Right.
Me and Luca are definitely not doing that. And so honestly, I just thought it was so unattainable until Rex went 404. And I was like, wow, like, we have an American going, 404, and he swims it. He doesn't really do the underwaters. And so once Rex did that, it honestly like opened my eyes, and I feel like it opened a lot of people's eyes to like what's really possible in the 500, especially with the right training and the right mindset about it. So yeah.
What do you think about the event order at NCAAs? What impact does that have, if at all, on your event schedule?
Yeah, I don't think it has a huge impact on me. I think my events are pretty spread out. Like I know the 500 is usually the first day after the relay. So now I don't have that. I think it's like the second or third day. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Yeah. So I just, my 400 IM and 200 free, my 500, my mile, the 8 free relay. I'm pretty sure all those are like pretty separate on the schedule. I know the mile and the 8 free relay are on the same day, especially if you're in the top 8. So that's like the only conflict I see. But other than that, yeah, all my events are like pretty in line with how they used to be.
After the Austin meet and the season you've been having thus far, have you had to rewrite your goals for the season already, or are there still kind of the goals you set at the beginning of the year still out there?
That's a great question. I think after Austin, I definitely have a lot of confidence on like where I'm at and stuff, and like what I am capable of short course. I think definitely, just keeping the goal simple. For me, that's doing everything I can to help Cal score as many points as possible at NCAAs, and so that's kind of been the same throughout the whole year. Obviously the biggest goal would be to win NCAAs. That's everyone's goal. But yeah, as long as my goal is definitely I want to make some A finals because I want to swim at night at NCAAs, and just Dave's goal and this is kind of my goal, is just going to NCAAs and putting 8 sessions or however many sessions it is. I think it's 8 or 9. Just putting those 8 sessions together and having like the best 8 sessions, all throughout the meet. It's just swimming good times and doing that in every session. And that's kind of Dave's goal. That's my goal. Just going, it's not about placement or anything like that. Just, as long as I'm swimming good times and stuff like that, that's what matters.
How does I'm sure throughout training, there's ways that you stack up multiple days to prepare with intentionality for, that several day slog that these meets have become. What about actual execution on race day? How much are you playing around with what meet warm-up looks like, how to optimize like sleep, food, get a Bobo sponsorship so that you're dialed for for the meet? Like I'm curious about like how you test that throughout the season, because you guys are swimming a lot faster now throughout the year, and there's more opportunities, I feel like, to test and still race fast as well, so you're getting like a decent simulation of what end of year looks like. And my question is, how much of those other things are being incorporated into what's being tested in the meet or at practice that are part of delivering on those 9 sessions at a high level?
For sure. Yeah. At Cal, throughout the fall, we race. We get up, and a lot of the times we suit up on Tuesday mornings and race Tuesday mornings. It's kind of like our test set day, we call it. And that's like a huge part of our training. And so a lot of those times, for the distance folks, it's not exactly like get up and do a couple hundred like off the block, but it's definitely more of like a race details oriented session. And so, yeah, like, getting up in the morning and treating it like a meet or so, having a cup of coffee or, taking a shower or whatever it is to get my body warmed up. And then, getting to the pool and having like a lot of the times on those mornings, they'll like write the warm up for us and stuff like that. And we're still getting in, the distance group usually gets in like 8K those mornings. And so it's a lot of like, the main set's like a lot of warm down or like a lot of reps and stuff like that. And so it's just still like, doing small things to simulate a race day. And then when it gets to an actual meet, like a dual meet or something like that, just practicing my meet warm-ups and stuff like that. I'm really relaxed about meet warm-up and stuff. I take it really seriously, but I don't have like a rigid, I do this every time. I really go off of feel. If I get to like a morning session and it's the 3rd day of the meet, I probably feel like crap. And I'm like, okay, like I need a little bit of a longer warm-up. I need more heart rate. But if I get to like a final session, I just swam 3 hours or 4 hours ago. It's like, okay, like I need a little less tonight. Like, so I plan that out kind of as I go, just based on feel.
Before NCs, we got ACCs to swim and compete in. And I don't know, I'm on the ACC website. Is this meet really Sunday to Saturday? Do you know?
That's what it is on our calendar. I think it's only a 4-day meet.
Okay. Yeah, there must be like diving or something, because I'm like, this meet is going to go from Sunday to Saturday. That seems absolutely insane. So hopefully I know it's 12 sessions.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a 4-day meet. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it's mimicking the new NCAA schedule, or at least the previous years. So I guess what are you doing to prepare for that and in preparation for NCs after that?
Yeah. I'm really excited for ACCs. I think it's gonna be a great meet for us. And yeah, it's we have a lot of time after ACCs before NCAAs. So right now, just training hard, doing my details, racing every day, just preparing little by little for ACCs, making sure I'm ahead on homework and stuff like that. But just kind of like getting excited for it. I think it's gonna be a great meet. There's a lot of great teams there. It'll be a fast meet, I think. I remember how fast ACCs and SECs were last year, and I think it'll be very similar, if not, maybe a little faster in some areas this year, especially ACCs. So I'm really just looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting up and racing short course again at a big meet.
Hell yeah. Conference meets are so much fun. That's awesome. All right, Ryan, we got some rapid fire questions for you to wrap up.
Let's do it.
What's the hardest race in swimming?
4 IM long course, I think.
All right. Olympic gold or world record?
Olympic gold.
What's the most annoying thing that a teammate or coach can do?
Every time, sometimes we'll have like a race, like a set, and Dan will just, if he wins a rep, he'll be like 1-0. And he'll just keep doing it every time he wins. And it's the most annoying thing. Like I will like sprint my heart out just to make it like 4-1 or like try to catch back up. And it's so annoying. Like it's horrible. And like sometimes like he won't do it until someone will like poke him, you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, oh, you just poked the beast, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely the most annoying thing I can think of.
Yeah. You know how you can tell that somebody grew up with brothers when it's like that.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the greatest athlete in Cal history?
Cal history. I have to say, I have to throw somewhere in there. I'll say currently, like Jack Alexi, that's the GOAT. But Aaron Rodgers went to Cal, and he's like, I'm a Packer fan, everything. So I got to say Aaron Rodgers in there too.
All right. Yeah. There was a couple other options here. I mean, Mendoza just won the Heisman. I know not for Cal, but he went there. Beast mode, Beast Quake. All right. Dream sponsor. Any sponsor in the world.
I really love watches. So like Omega would be super cool, or like even like, there's no swimmers like Rolex would be like crazy, or like just a crazy watch brand. Like I think it'd be really cool if you like went to the Olympics and won like a ton of medals. Like maybe they would want to sponsor you,
Yeah.
outside of swimming.
Does Omega do anything? So they sponsor Phelps, and I feel like their levels like Ariarne Titmus or something like that. It's like they have 1-1 from either field. I don't know who they sponsor now, but
they have a lot of USA. I know like Kate and Gretchen are all sponsored by Omega.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, there's a bunch of swimming athletes.
Oh man, that one's totally gettable then. It's coming your way, bud. All right. What song are you most likely to sing at karaoke?
Oh, goodness. I have no idea. Like Sweet Caroline, maybe. I don't know.
All right, that's not a bad one. All right.
Yeah.
What's one bold prediction for NCAAs this year?
I think Cal will, shock some people. I think, right now we're like pretty low in the rankings and stuff like that. But I think, it's a great group and the culture is great. And that's the biggest thing, I think, in my opinion, is, if the culture is great and the foundation's great, it'll set some people up to swim really fast. And so I think whether that's a team placement shocking people or just specific people from Cal that are shocking people, I think we'll definitely shock some people this year.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'll say.
All right, man. What's the hardest set that you've ever done?
Oh, goodness. On my club team, we did this set, and it's called, I have it written down and everything. It's called the 400 IM set. And it's 4 rounds of everything. You do 2 100s fly off the blocks, and then you do 2 50s backstroke, just make 4 50s breaststroke, just make 100 freestyle, and you have to be under 105 long course, and then a 400 IM off the blocks for time. And then you do all that 4 times. That's definitely the hardest set I've ever done.
Anything 400 IM training sounds terrible.
Yeah.
What do you like the best time that you ever went on that set? What are you holding on some of these things?
I have no idea. I mean, it was when I was younger. The freestyles, I was definitely around a minute. The flies, try to be under 105. That's 8 100s fly. And the 4 IMs, anything under like 450 on the 400 IMs, I remember being like really good for me back in the day. So yeah.
All right. So last one, dude. The word on the street is there's a decent amount of social kick happening at Cal. So I need to know, is this making its way into the groups that you're in, or is it only the sprinters that are over there getting to social kick?
Oh, every day almost. It's awesome. And it's funny. Dan and Nathan, when they first got here, when we were social kicking, they hated it. They were like, "Why are we doing this? This is a waste of time, a waste of yards." And now they love it. They're mad if we don't have a social kick. It's awesome. It's really funny.
Oh, you had to win them over. That's awesome.
Yep,
Now they
yep.
see the light. They see the light and the benefit.
Yep.
You're a lot of fun, dude. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. It's fun watching your trajectory and to be able to put a face to the name and, have a conversation is what we think swimming is all about, is get to share stories and have more people that are Ryan fans. And you're welcome back here anytime, dude. So we appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It's been really fun. Thank you.
Awesome. That's it for this episode of Social Kick. We'll see you next. Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment and we'll see you next time.